So this is Articulator split system for MXXX. It's basically just a way to add some nuance and rearticulation concepts to existing material. I have a basic synth going through it, and it's just to give an example of what this thing is capable of, but it's mainly for acoustic style sounds, but of course it can be used for all manner of things. Anyways, so here's the sound. And that sound is just coming out of the synthesizer for Logic Audio. And it's running through this effect process. So basically I have a dry wet, so you can set up the amount of wet that you want in case you don't want to go crazy with this plugin. And for starters we have attack and shape, and so here you can kind of set a bit of a beef to the attack. And that's occurring in a little different process because I'm using a spectrally oriented crossover to make all these things happen in certain sections. So anyways, we also have reduce release. There's a little bit of a tail on it, but it helps you to reduce the initial attack. So it's sort of a gate, really. And you can gate it even further with additional plugins. But I wanted to have a system where you could basically have all the essential stuff to create some really cool rearticulation concepts for whatever exists in your session. So then we have attack fade, so we can change it up with like an envelope fade system that I made. And if it keeps playing the attack, it's because you have to wait a second for the envelope to re-trigger. That's just the way I have that set up for this kind of plugin. I didn't want to go too crazy. Look, it's already very busy. So then we have a pitch section. So we can enable pitch section here. And then also, if you want to enable the downer, one thing that I have is kind of confusing. You would select the downer separately. And it's basically just a modulator that's going on the pitch. And it's basically just telling it to go down, obviously. And then I did the same thing for pitch bender. Now with these upper pitch section, you would enable here, and you don't hear anything right now because I'm not doing any pitch bending, but so I have my semitone and then I have a sliding pitch. And so these kinds of things come in handy with on-the-fly performance, but also with automation and things like that. So you can kind of sequence in the amount of articulation that you want. So then we have basic harmonic section. We have fifth, fourth, etc. All right, so we have a little bit of a vibrato because of course it's going to be a key part of the articulation. And I have it so that it starts when you basically start to turn up the knob, the system turns on here. And it also controls the dry wet from here for just the vibrato and just this vibrato. So then we have a second vibrato. And another depth control for that. All right, we have a tone transformer, which is kind of built on a unique idea. As you see, we pretty quickly changed the tone there. And I have a bank of, I think, about 21 different sounds. I basically just took whatever they had provided for the rotary plugin, and I just put it in this module here. Alright, so that had some subtle tone variations. And then I have a thing called anti-machine gun, and basically that's to eliminate the dreaded machine gun effect, and that is when you hear the same sound over and over and it's the exact same sound, but you really want it to have a little more nuance. So it really is going to come in more handy for things like percussion, hopefully. And I have it triggering various elements of a spectral transformer to do that, and I also have a wet-dry for that system. So we can get a little idea here. So So as I play the same note, an envelope is re-triggering different sections and different parameters of the transformer. All right, so we have a quick tonal EQ system, very no frills. I just wanted to have something to help shape and reshape those articulations on the fly so you can get an idea. Perhaps you can include your own EQ after this, but this is really for one-stop shop for re-articulating very quickly, so I don't want to go too crazy. And this is automatically always on because it's just an EQ and it's really not taking up that much CPU. And there is a slight delay on this plugin because of the amount of just sheer incredible processing that's going on. There's so many things happening with spectral transformation, but I have those sort of set to be the optimal, and unfortunately that does compromise a little bit on the quality, but if you wanted to get in there and edit the quality level, you could perhaps do that as well by you going into the edit system. But you'd have to search for where these are, but there's a way to click on these to quickly jump to whatever's controlling these. So anyways, another thing I wanted to include is another way to sort of change the tone, but really go crazy with it. So as we go down here, we're going more into the digital realm, and we're kind of leaving articulation on the bass level and going into digital articulation as we start around here. So spectral magic has to be engaged, and then I have a dry-wet control, and it's basically just a spectral transformer that Melda has, and I have some various options to control the sound. Love it. Hopefully the computer is picking this up because it's quite a bit of heavy stuff going on here. All right, then we have chorus. Obviously, you can change a couple things there. Reverb. And then I added a couple different presets from the reverb and a couple different options to change up the reverb. All right, then we also have DSP articulations. And these are the same system where just turning the knob up a little bit engages the system, because I wanted them all off by default to conserve CPU, obviously, and of course, so you don't hear any weird anomalies in the tone. So this is the speaker simulator concept. And all of these I included about 10 different presets in the banks. So then we have wobbler, a very cool sample and hold effect there, and this is working with a dry-wet control. And then we granulator. I don't want to do too much granulator. I'm sure that will override my video system. And then we have frequency shifter. And so why I made these all knob controlled like this so that you can have the dry-wet sort of feed in the effect is precisely because of the articulation concept, because I see the articulation not only as these parameters you can adjust in a sort of square, sort of engaging immediately way, but also in a linear way so that you can get in there and sort of weave them in. So I wanted to include a bunch of like knob-based controlling concepts or slider-based so that you can either dial it in through automation or change them on the fly, or do various things to implement them so that they act sort of like a thing that can trigger later, which adds that sort of organic quality to the sound. So I'll leave it there. That's the overview of the Articulator split system, and I hope you can make some cool use of this. I think this is a really great start to a really interesting concept.